Today, my friend, we're going to be learning a really, really cool lesson about the way that Yeshua did things, his quiet way of encouraging his people. We're going to learn that through him sending out his people 2 by 2, and then who knows how long it was after that. But the very next thing that happens is you see them gleaning in the field. Why is that what he chose to do right afterwards? And if that's not exactly how it happened, why is it that Matthew, who was under Messiah Yeshua's tutelage, chose to pen it that way? Let's learn together. Yeshua had just chosen his 12 disciples, and later he sends them out 2 by 2 on their own, basically in the spirit of John the Baptist and Elijah, to prepare the way for the Lord, for him. These 12 Yeshua sent out and commanded them, saying, "Go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Provide neither gold nor silver nor copper in your belts, nor bag for your journey, nor 2 tunics, nor sandal, nor staff, for a worker is worthy of his food. In whatever city or town you enter, inquire who in it is worthy, and stay there till you go out." In the Gospel of Matthew, we have this account, and they separate from each other, and they go out and they go on their journey. It doesn't give us a time frame. I would assume this was probably many months. The next time that we see an actual recounting of an event of them all together, it was them in the grain field. And this is where things get interesting. The gleaning in the grain field means a very particular thing. It's a command in Torah. The social undercurrent, the very underpinnings of society were all founded on Torah. So for us to have a deeper understanding of where Yeshua was, where his disciples were mentally, spiritually, emotionally, we have to have the same kind of understanding of Torah as they had. So let's begin that by looking at Torah to see what gleaning is all about. "When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not wholly reap the corners of your field, nor shall you gather the gleanings of your harvest. And you shall not glean your vineyard, nor shall you gather every grape of your vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and the stranger. I am Yahovah, your Elohim." Okay, so there we have it. Let's pick through that a little bit. The responsibility of making sure gleaning was possible. Whose responsibility was that? The answer to that would be the landowners who had fields where vineyards and crops were growing. Okay, so what did they have to do in order to make sure gleaning was possible? When they brought in their harvest, they would not reap the corners. And all of the fruit that fell to the ground, they would leave it there. So who benefited from this practice? The benefit of this practice was to the poor and the stranger. How would they benefit? The way that they would benefit is when they were hungry, they would know that all they have to do is go to a righteous man's field and go to the corners, and if the corners had already been gleaned fully through, they go into the interior of the field to find what may have dropped. That more or less is everything around God's law of gleaning, part of his social structure that he wants to be part of his society. So now, let's focus not on the drama of the Pharisees pointing the finger at Yeshua, But let's focus on that and ask ourselves, why gleaning a field? They had come together after likely many months of not being with each other, and it was a Sabbath. They could have been by the River Jordan. They could have been at the Mediterranean Sea. They could have been in a synagogue service. Yeshua purposefully and wisely chose to spend this time in a field gleaning. And the things that he is subtly singing to his disciples as a result are absolutely beautiful. One thing that Yeshua was saying to his disciples was, thank you. Thank you for doing my work. You are mine. We're in this together. How is he saying that? Well, they were gleaning in a field. They were humbling themselves to behaving like strangers, the poor of the land. The disciples picking the heads of grain was humility. In Torah it says, you are strangers and sojourners with me. Yeshua was thanking and being grateful towards his disciples for being strangers and sojourners with him, doing his work for the sake of the kingdom. Another beautiful dialogue you can see is reminiscent of manna in the desert. When they were instructed to go out 2 by 2 and to not take 2 tunics or 2 pairs of sandals, to take no money for their belts, they were putting themselves in a position where they pretty much had to glean the land for their daily bread. Never having leftovers, they couldn't even bring a bag with them. No room for leftovers for the next day. Every day they had to wake up, get their food for that day, and trust that God would provide for them for the next day. That takes a tremendous amount of faith to do that, and it is reminiscent of the manna in the desert. So, with that being said, Yeshua is choosing to take his disciples with him to go walking through this grain field as they picked the heads of grain. This is Yeshua saying, I was with you the whole time. I was suffering alongside you. The Father will never put anybody through anything that he would not go through himself. And he certainly will not allow his blood-bought children to go through suffering that he wouldn't go through himself. This screams love. This screams teamwork. This screams relationship. And it also sets Yeshua's character up on high. And lastly, first off, these are just a few things that this points to. This treasure trove is deep and just goes and goes and goes. If you will take the time to study yourself approved and to meditate on these things for his sake. But lastly, these concepts aren't just reading between the lines. You can see them being spoken of by Yeshua in his repartee towards the tort that the Pharisees had against him. He used their tort as a leveraging point to love his disciples even more. If you look at that response, he's telling the Pharisees that these disciples of mine, they are like King David. They are directly doing God's work in a way that sets them in a place where they are higher ambassadors of the kingdom than even the workers of the temple. Listen to this. After the Pharisees had their tort, then he said to them, have you not read what David did when he was hungry, he and those who were with him, how he entered the house of God and ate the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, nor for those who were with him, but only for the priests? Or have you not read in the law that on the Sabbath, the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless? But I say to you that in this place there is one greater than the temple. You know, it's real interesting that that wasn't even the strongest argument. The strongest argument is that Yeshua was not breaking Torah. He was only breaking the man-made laws of Talmud. But that's not how he chose to respond. He chose to respond in a way that was both still true and also lifted up his disciples. He is such an awesome father and a beautiful master. Are you being encouraged and lifted up by the Messiah today? I sure hope you are. Thanks for growing with us today. Shalom.
Shalom, my friend, and thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, maybe click one of the videos that are popping up on the screen. And if you think that one of your friends would benefit from this video the same as you have, consider copying the link and sending it to them as a text message. I'm sure they will be blessed by it, just as you have. Shalom, me homies.